let's talk about one of the big mental health buzzwords. Let's talk about resilience. I'm going to imagine that your thoughts on resilience are something like this. In fact, if you search Google, what you will find is lots of pictures like this. As you can see, there are hundreds of them, of this idea of resisting or holding something up, being able to push back against whatever it is that's happening out there in your world, whether it be that you're being resilient against mental health, resilient against stress, resilience against pressure, resilient against life, resilient against world politics and the global economy. I don't know what it is you're being resilient against, but the thought of resilience always gives us this sense of resistance and pushing back. But that's not what resilience is at all. I love this description of resilience. This is from the American Psychological Association, and what it says is that resilience is the process and outcome of successfully adapting to difficult or challenging life experiences, especially through mental, emotional, and behavioural flexibility and adjustment to external and internal demands. What a brilliant description of what resilience is. Let me show you some pictures of what I believe resilience is. And one of the easiest ways to think about this is nature. Nature is hugely resilient. We are giving it a really good hard push at the moment, but that's for a completely different video and a completely different subject. But if you think about what resilience is, this type of image really sums it up. Nature will find a way. It doesn't matter what you put in its path, it will find a way to recover and bounce back. She will breathe again, as long as we don't push her too far too quickly, and the chance that she doesn't have a chance to become flexible and adaptable. But again, that's for this other video that we will do at a different time. But that's not what we think resilience is. So therefore, we got all of these people, potentially just like you, who believe that they're not resilient because they don't just keep pushing through when times are difficult. But for me, that's not resilience, that's resistance, and actually can lead to all sorts of mental health problems. What we want to do is we need to stop and breathe and learn how to adapt and be flexible. And there is an amazing model that teaches us a little bit about how to do this. Now, I'm going to admit, I'm a bit of a researcher. I like to look into things. I like to know the history of stuff that I do and I talk about. I can't find for the life of me who came up with this idea, but I have had a look. So if you do happen to know, please let me know in the comments who it is that actually came up with this idea. And this is the concept of the 5 pillars of resilience. Now, I love this. It sounds when you say it out loud, the 5 pillars of resilience, as if it's going to be quite cliched and it's going to be some sort of cheesy thing that somebody would put out in a leaflet. And actually, that might be exactly what people do with it, but that doesn't stop it being actually really effective when we think just to the next level down of what this model says. So let's go through our 5 pillars of resilience. Number 1 is self-awareness. In order to be resilient, we have to be aware of ourselves. Now, what that means is not only knowing all our good bits, but able to know our bad bits. And to be honest, the chances are you're probably good at one of them and not great at the other. So people who are great at recognizing their good bits can sometimes get into the trap of not being able to recognize where maybe they need some development. It's like they'll miss it. They'll go, well, actually, I'm really good at that. Now, again, I'm sure you are not that egotistical. You're not that arrogant to do that. But that might mean, therefore, that you're the opposite. Somebody that if I sit and I say to you, that's really good work that you've just done there, that you'd turn around and say, oh, no, it's not really that good. Actually, I'm pretty crap at all of this. And do you know what? I'm really terrible at this and I'm terrible at this. What we need to actually be is self-aware about both and everything in between. Imagine somebody who is truly self-aware. Now, technically speaking, you could imagine somebody who's truly self-aware is like sitting on a mountain with their legs crossed going, do you need some information, my child? Or something like that. But that would more than likely be trust that information because we'd recognize that this person is self-aware and resilient. But if we just think about, we get away from my cheesy description, we think of somebody who is self-aware, then the chances are they recognize, I like this, I'm good at that, and I don't like this, and I'm not good at this. And that allows them to flex as they move through life. If I give them a job to do, they might be able to go, well, actually, I already know that I'm not very good at that. I'm not putting myself down. I'm not discounting myself in any way. I just know that's not my thing, but I'll do this bit for you and I'll do that bit for you, but it might be better to delegate off to someone else. Again, that would really depend. I'm running that in my head thinking, how would a boss respond to that? I think a really good boss would go, well, okay, if you built up that rapport and that trust, you'd maybe get away with that. But anyway, I'm going, I'm overthinking that. Anyway, so this whole idea of self-awareness is just about being able to stop and understand what it is that you love, what it is that you don't love, and all of the bits in between, so that you can flex your way around the world. You know, we think that maybe resilience is going into something, let's say public speaking. It's a classic thing. Being able to stand up there, what's one of the biggest fears of public speaking? One of the biggest fears is getting caught out. I'm going to stand up there and people are going to realise that I don't know stuff. The joy of self-awareness as a speaker is, I'm going to step up there and I'm totally aware of what I know and what I don't know. And therefore, because of that self-awareness, if somebody says, yeah, but what about this? And I don't know, do you know what my answer is going to be? I don't know. That is resilience. That's like, well, that's okay. It's not I'm going to sidestep your question. It's just I'm going to, in fact, accept your question, but I'm just going to move around it by saying, I just don't know. How many areas of your life are you self-aware in? And this brings us to pillar number 2, because one of the ways to become self-aware is to stop long enough to be able to pay attention to what is actually going on right here, right now. Like, wherever you are, whatever it is you're doing, stop. Keep watching me. Hi, I'm still here. Don't worry, I'm still here. I'm not frozen. But just stop. If you're driving the car, don't stop the car. What I mean is just stop you. Just drive your car. Still pay attention. Do whatever. Why are you watching a YouTube video in the car? Why would you be doing that? I don't know. Maybe you're just listening to it and it's playing in the background somewhere. But if you're on a train or a bus or you're in your house, just stop. And just notice. Notice the noises, the sounds around you. Notice what you can see if you look up from your phone. Don't have to look at me for the next few seconds. Just look around yourself. What can you see? What's around you? Sounds. How do you feel? Can you feel your feet on a floor or the floor? You feel your back against a chair, or you're lying down, whatever it is that you're doing. Now, I'm not saying that pillar number 2, mindfulness, is all about mindful practice. That can really, really help people. But it's just about being aware. Now, if you have stopped, how are you feeling? What's going on emotionally for you? And how do you feel about work? And how do you feel about your relationship? Or how do you feel about uni or college or school or whatever it is you do? And when you're mindful, you can stop long enough to pay attention to those feelings. You see, for the most part, and there's going to be another video. If it's not up yet, then just search the channel because it will go on there. I'm going to call it Fortune Teller Brain. And if you start to look, what your brain does is your brain's a fortune teller. It goes forward, it looks out. And this is where we spend most of our time. Either forward and we're already out thinking about what's going to happen next, or we go back and we're already analysing the past and we're looking at all the stuff that's happened. Where we very rarely spend much time is now. I will say that both of those things about going forward and back are massively important to living a healthy and normal life. But it's still important as well just to stop and go, how am I feeling right now? And when we do that, we become self-aware. And because we become self-aware of certain things, emotions, feelings, things that are good, things that are not so good, because we've been mindful, this brings us on to pillar number 3, self-care. We start to realise, for instance, that we're tired or that we're hungry or that we feel unfit or that we're out of breath or that we're anxious or that we're sad or that we're angry about something, or maybe even that we're happy or we're excited about where we're going, or we're looking forward to going home, or we want to do something with our lives, like simple things like go on holiday or do a college course or learn how to make ceramic pots. I don't know what it might be. But we become aware of these things, and this is where self-care comes in. What you start looking at is, where can I self-care myself? Where can I care for myself? This is going on the big things. This is things like eating healthy, staying fit, getting enough sleep. Some of you are already going, oh, I'm reaching next video. Thanks very much. I don't want somebody to preach at. I'm not going to preach at you. It's your option. You have the ability to self-care or not. That is self-awareness. If you're self-aware enough to go, do you know what? I'm going to survive on 4 hours of sleep. If that's your self-awareness and you believe that that's also caring for yourself, then you will be able to be resilient. that's great. But if you find that because you're really tired, little things are getting to you, and it's like your boss really has pissed you off, or that something's happened and it's like your temper's really short or something like that, the chances why that's happening is because of the fact that you've not been caring for yourself. One of the biggest reasons for people feeling burnt out and tired is the fact that they don't stop for long enough to take care of themselves. Now, this isn't just about diet and exercise and sleep. This is also about surrounding yourself with good people. This is going to be pillar number 4. Hold on a wee minute. We're going to get to that. It's about doing things that fulfill you. That's pillar number 5. We're going to come on to that as well. I'm peaking too soon. I'm already talking about other things. It's about being self-aware enough to spend time doing the things that you love and enjoy. It's about stopping long enough to go, do you know what? I've always wanted to make ceramic pots. Now he's mentioned it. I've always wanted to paint. Excellent. Do you know what part of self-care is? I'm going to start painting or make ceramic pots, or I'm going to go for a big walk, or I'm going to spend more time outside in the fresh air. I don't know exactly what it is, but what self-care is about caring for yourself. And if you do, you become more resilient because you realize that actually you're quite a strong person, but you can only be a strong person if you care for yourself, because strong people care for themselves and not strong people don't. But anyway, number 4, and we mentioned it already, pillar number 4 is positive relationships. Now, how are your relationships? Because when we're surrounded by people and we feel as if we're not alone, we can be very resilient. If something really bad happens in someone's life, what they can immediately feel is very lonely and isolated. But if they spent the time to nurture and develop positive relationships, they'll not feel that for very long. I'm not saying that they won't feel that, but they won't feel it for very long. Let's imagine somebody gets made redundant. Okay, this is a point of resilience. So somebody gets made redundant. So therefore you don't have to do them in order, but they stop and they feel the anxiety and the upset. Their self-care is therefore to let that emotion process. So for the first wee while, they're actually really upset. Maybe they're angry. There's nothing in resilience to say that you're not allowed to feel a negative emotion. That's self-awareness. I'm self-aware enough to spot that I'm angry and frustrated and I'm disappointed in the fact that this has happened. But I also know I have to look after myself, so my self-care is going to be to make myself better. In the time that I've got, I'm going to redevelop my CV, or I'm going to do whatever. And therefore, I'm going to also lean on the people that I've got around me, because I've got positive relationships. People will come around and they'll say, are you okay? Can we help in any way? I'm fortunate enough to be part here in Glasgow, where I work and live, to be part of like a mastermind group. There's probably about just short of 20 of us in it, and we all are run our own businesses or various things like that. It is one of the most incredible resources that I have at my disposal, because when I have felt down, and doing this job does not give you like a thing where you'll never feel down. When I have been down, I have cried in front of these people. I have been so brutally honest with these people, and these positive relationships have helped me be resilient, because I then don't feel alone. Our person who was made redundant needs to be self-aware enough that actually their self-care might be about putting their hand up and saying, I need some help. And number 5, pillar number 5, what is that? It is purpose. One of the things that makes us most resilient is the thought that we have a why. I want you to allow me just to use a really cliched quote, though, at this point. Some of you already know what it is. It comes from a book called Man's Search for Meaning by a guy called Viktor Frankl. And what he said was, anyone who has a why can survive any how. And he was talking about his experiences in Auschwitz, in the concentration camps during World War II, during the Holocaust. Now, if the reason in his whole thing, Man's Search for Meaning, is the fact that he had a why to survive that. And it was all about his family. But actually, it's true about anything. Have you ever done anything like really big and life-changing? And that could even be simple as going on a diet, getting fit, getting more sleep. It could be doing a degree. It could be learning something, learning a new language, all of these things. Do you know when you have a why, though? It's the people who have a why that see these things through to an end. How many of us have sat and gone, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to learn Spanish. Why? Oh, I feel really bad when I go on holiday that I can't go into a shop and speak, with the locals. But it's not a big enough why, so what happens is we just kind of all fall away from it and we don't really do anything with it. But if your job said to you, or some life experience came about where it was you're moving and you're going to live in Spain for the next 2 years, that purpose would get you through the difficult bits when you're going, hola, 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 gracias or gracias? Which one? I don't know. Why is it Barcelona? Sometimes it's Barcelona. Sometimes I don't know. By the way, I do know it's something to do with regional dialects. But anyway, whatever it is, you don't have to teach me that. But you get what I mean. We will push ourselves through these difficult things in anywhere, and we will be resilient because we have a purpose. So our 5 pillars of resilience. I almost forgot what they were called there. It was like the 5 whats? The 5 pillars of resilience are: number 1, self-awareness, the ability to be able to look inside and be honest with yourself about the good things, the bad things, and everything in between. How you do that is pillar number 2, by stopping, by being mindful. That doesn't mean you have to sit and listen to whale noises with your eyes closed. It just means about just stopping and being aware of how you're feeling in a minute by minute without being out in the future or back in the past. Number 3, self-care. It's what you do with the first 2, that you then need to start looking after yourself and making sure that you're healthy and well. And one of the ways that you can do that is by having positive relationships and by having good people around you. And with all of those things are all made easier to be resilient if you have a purpose, if you have a why for doing what it is that you need to do. It's that will make you adaptable, because you will always find a way. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, our 5 pillars of resilience. Go and research them some more. Please give us any comments, stories, anything below, and subscribe to the channel and the rest of our socials. All the information is there. We're Headstrong Minds everywhere. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm Brian from Headstrong. I'll see you again. Bye.